Welcome back to Keep It Real Boxing, and welcome back to another episode of Fight Night Rewind. This is Cypher Box, and I want to talk about Canelo versus Triple G. First of all, what I want to turn around and say is congratulations to Canelo on his victory over Triple G. But at the same time, I kind of want to congratulate Triple G too, because you know what? He put up a good fight as well, and it made such an entertaining, such an exciting fight over the weekend. I think it was really great to watch. Like I said, I don't have a horse in this race when it came to these two men, and you know, I was able to kick back and really enjoy the fight. Now, there's been a lot of negativity on the back of that, of course. You know, the fanboys complaining, screaming out robbery, corruption, and there was no robbery here. I'm tired of hearing that from fanboys. I'm really tired of hearing that. Whenever there's a close fight and their favourite fighter doesn't get the victory, doesn't get the decision, oh my god, it was a robbery, so-and-so got robbed, so-and-so got robbed, the judges got paid off. Please, do you know what I mean? This is boxing, and sometimes you get close contests, close fights, and this was one of those close fights, and Canelo just edged it in the eyes of the judges. And there's loads of things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk through my scorecard, of course, don't get me wrong, how I saw the fight, but also most of this video is going to be about reviewing Abel Sanchez's interviews, which Abel Sanchez's own interviews kind of rebuttals all the excuses coming from the Triple G fanboys. Now, don't get me wrong, if the decision had gone the other way, and let's say the judges gave it 115, 113 to Triple G, I wouldn't be talking to Triple G fanboys right now. I'd be talking to the Canelo fanboys right now. Okay? Either way, neither side would have admitted, you know, that their favourite fighter had lost. But what pisses me off is the fact that we saw a great fight this weekend, and rather than celebrate that fight and, you know, pat each fighter on the back and say it was a great fight, thank you for that, you know, instead we want to make excuses and ruin the whole occasion. But that's how it works in boxing these days. But like I said, I'm going to talk about a lot more. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on my card. I'm quickly going to go through my card, but then I'm going to talk about Abel Sanchez's comments. I'm also going to talk about what Roy Jones Jr. said as well, some interesting points he made. So, and I'm going to use audio clips from, you know, interviews from both these men. So let's get into it. Now, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see my scorecard appearing. You should see it right about now. Okay, I'm quickly going to go through it. Listen, I scored it 7 rounds to 5, 115, 113 to Canelo. So I actually agreed with the judges on this one, yeah, with two of the judges anyway, because one of the judges scored it a draw. And let's not forget, one of the judges was, I believe it was Dave Morietti, or whatever it is. He was the judge, one of the judges, the only judge from the first fight that was allowed to judge the second fight. And in the last fight, he gave the fight to Triple G. So again, I don't get where all this corruption with judges is coming from and nonsense like that. But anyway, look, there's my scorecard. Quickly going to run you through it. Okay, so rounds 1 and 2, I gave to Canelo. Round 1 I felt was a feeling out process between both fighters. All Triple G was throwing in that first round was the jab. You know, I felt Canelo was throwing the more, was throwing a variety of punches. He was a bit more effective with his aggression, you know, controlling the center of the ring, dictating the pace a little bit. I felt Canelo won the first round. The second round, I felt Canelo came out and turned it up a little bit. Again, you know, he was pushing Triple G back. He was forcing Triple G, you know, where he didn't want to probably be, which was on the outside, and throwing the more variety of punches and landing the better scoring punches, in my opinion. So I gave round 2 to Canelo as well. Now, as you can see, round 3 right to round 6, I gave all to Triple G. Now, I felt those rounds were very close, don't get me wrong. I could have easily given those rounds to Canelo, but I just felt Triple G in those rounds, especially from round 3 to round 5, I felt Triple G was a little bit cleaner with his work. Not that Canelo wasn't throwing the punches, but I just felt Triple G was a little bit more cleaner. It was a bit more clearer to see where his punches were landed. I just felt he had better control in that situation. Even though he was boxing from the outside and being pushed back, I just felt he had the better and cleaner punches over Canelo. Round 6, however, I thought was a really close round. I really struggled to split the two fighters. In the end, I did give it to Triple G. I just felt, okay, his work was a little bit more better. I was more impressed with what he did at the beginning of the round, and I kind of edged him the round. But that easily could have gone to Canelo as well. Round 7 to round 10, I scored all for Canelo. I felt the second half of the fight, Canelo really turned it on. Round 7, 8, 9 and 10, his combinations, he was pushing Triple G back, he was dictating the pace, he was making Triple G fight the way he fought, the way Canelo fought in the first fight. That's the way I saw it. I felt his aggression was more effective. He was landing the cleaner, better punches, the harder punches, the better combinations. The defensive skills were way better. There was that, I can't remember what round it was now. I really can't. But there was that one round where Triple G threw like a combination of 5, 6, 7 punches, and Canelo was standing in front of him, and it was just beautiful head movement where he moved out the way and moved his body, upper body. You know, that great quick upper body that Canelo has. Defensively he was sound as well. I just felt I felt for me he clearly won those rounds. There wasn't any difficult with me splitting those rounds in my opinion. And then if you look at round 11, okay, round 11 I gave to Triple G, but the reason I gave round 11 to Triple G is because I feel Canelo took the round off. He kind of gave away that round. I get the feeling that he felt he needed to conserve his energy for the last and final round. And of course, in my eyes, Triple G won the round because of that reason. And then if you go to the last and final round, I just felt that Triple G did not do enough to win the round. I feel Canelo really turned it on. He was so effective with his aggression, really forced Triple G back, forced him to move, landed the cleaner, better punches again, and that last round for me was convincingly belonged to Canelo Alvarez. So that was my scorecard, 115-113, agreeing with 2 of the judges. But to be honest with you, I felt Canelo controlled the center of the ring for most of the fight. He was pushing Triple G back. He was walking down Triple G. Triple G was on the outside, boxing, moving, moving around the ring, moving around Canelo. Yeah, pretty much doing what Abel Sanchez accused Canelo of doing, which was in Abel Sanchez's eyes as seen as running. Yeah, that's what Triple G was doing. It was like the roles were reversed in the rematch. Whereas in the first fight, Canelo was on the outside, boxing, moving, using lateral movement, and Triple G was at the center ring trying to walk Canelo down and cut the ring off. This time, Canelo was the one walking Triple G down, and Triple G was on the outside, boxing, moving. That's the way I see it. It was boxing and moving. But of course, according to Abel Sanchez, that's classed as running. And to you Triple G fanboys, you got to remember that all of you were accusing Canelo of running. So that means Triple G was running in your eyes, yeah? Not in my eyes, in your eyes, because that's your definition of running. Okay, but I felt Canelo, I think he did that throughout the fight. He was controlling and dictating the pace and pushing and forcing Triple G to fight and box, and move, which is something he doesn't usually do. He did it against David Lemieux, I know, but he's usually the aggressor, trying to walk you down and cut off the ring. And we didn't see that on Saturday night. And there was a lack of body punching from Triple G again, to Canelo. That I was surprised at as well. I thought he would have tried to go for the body a bit more, but he wasn't. He was actually going for more for the headshots, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's how I saw the fight. I know a lot of people ain't going to agree with me. I know a lot of people are going to slate me for it. I know what the fanboys have already been saying. I've been seeing it on social media and everywhere, for crying out loud. But that's my point of view of the fight. That's how I scored the fight. Okay, so that's me done with my scorecard. Let's move away from that now. Let's talk about some of the things Abel Sanchez said, though, post-fight interviews. And I've got audio clips, and I'm going to kind of break them down because there's a lot of excuse making coming from the Triple G fans. I think it's quite ridiculous, and you know what? It's starting to annoy me. Not just Triple G fans I'm talking about, yeah? I'm not talking about Triple G fanboys. I'm talking about fanboys in boxing in general. It does irritate me. I'm not gonna lie, yeah? That you always get this excuse making. Half of them don't even know how to score a fight. I've seen some ridiculous comments in social media over the last year or so, when it comes to close fights. If you want to know what a robbery is, go watch Tevin Farmer versus Kenichi Ogawa in December last year, where they were fighting for the IBF vacant IBF 130-pound title. And you know what? Tevin Farmer completely dominated that fight, in my opinion. I only gave literally one round to Kenichi Ogawa in that fight. Yeah, and the judges gave the decision to Kenichi Ogawa. That was a clear robbery. That's what you call a robbery. That's the very definition of a robbery. This on Saturday night was a close fight, which, yeah, you could argue could have gone either way, 1 or 2 rounds, but it went in the favour of Canelo. This was not a robbery. You know, I'm tired of people throwing that word out there. It's getting ridiculous now. It really is. But anyway, I'm going to break down some of the things that Abel Sanchez said. I want to talk about what he said in some of his post-fight interviews. And I'm going to play you audio clips. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first one.
First of all, we're disillusioned that we didn't get the victory. But I think that we had 3 very good judges. They both fight a great fight. I think Canelo deserves all the credit for taking the victory tonight. He's champion. We're not ashamed of anything we did in the ring. I believe that we gave the fans what we had promised them. The fans won tonight, and it was a 1-round fight. It was within 1 round going either way for it to be a different score, a different outcome, I should say. So hopefully they rest up and they plan another one sometime in May of next year.
So first of all, he says, you know, obviously that he's upset that, you know, that they didn't get the victory. Okay, but the key point that he makes in there is that, you know, we had very good judges scoring the fight. Yeah, all you guys out there who are turning around and saying corruption, the judges and all this sort of stuff, well, the head trainer of Triple G, Abel Sanchez, has just stated that they were good judges, competent judges who knew what they were doing, scoring the fight. Okay, not only that, don't forget, Abel Sanchez and Team Triple G signed off on the judges. When the judges were selected, they were very happy with the judges that were selected to score this fight. You got to remember, the Nevada State Athletics Commission were under a lot of pressure to get everything right, to have the right judges, the right referee, and all of that in place. So there were no excuses, but not only that, there was no more controversy, as there was so much controversy in the first fight, especially when it came to the judges' scorecards and everything that happened with Adelaide Bird's scorecard in the first fight. So how you guys can make that excuse of the judges are corrupt, or the judges are this, the judges are that here in the rematch, when the head trainer is not complaining? Yeah, and he gives full credit to Canelo for his victory and congratulates him.
I thought we won, but all coaches think they won. No, we're biased. All teams think they won, they're biased. But that's why we had today 3 very, very competent judges. They saw it in a way that was against us, but we can't be hypocritical and start crying every time we don't get a decision. That's why we have judges, and these 3 were very good. Absolutely, absolutely. I think that we to say something less would be taken away from the glory of a great victory today for Canelo.
Again, Abel Sanchez there is elaborating on what he started off in the interview with, which is talking about the judges. He himself says that, you know, he felt he won the fight, which is really odd because I'm going to play you another clip later on, which he kind of says something different. But anyway, in this part of the clip of the interview, he turns around and says that, you know, as a trainer, I'm biased. You're always going to feel like your fighter won the fight in a close contest, is basically what he's trying to say there. But he says that's why we have judges. We had 3 very competent judges scoring the fight. And, you know, he didn't want to take anything away from Canelo's victory, his great victory tonight. That's what he said.
But that's what he had to do, not only to win all the fans back, but also to erase that bad mark that he had back in March. I think with this fight in the 12 or 14 negative test that he took with Vada, I think it just proves to himself and to his fans that he is a clean fighter and he fought a great fight. Today he got the win.
Now there's 2 things he's talking about there. One is the way Canelo fought on the night. He came forward, he walked Triple G down, he applied pressure, he was effective with his aggression. You know, he didn't box and move like he did in the first round. He made Triple G do that in this fight with the style that he brought on the night of the fight. Okay, But not only that, he talks about Canelo being a clean fighter for this fight. Now, if you remember back in February, Canelo had 2 failed drug tests for clenbuterol. I was one of the channels out there that was very critical of that whole situation. I felt the Nevada State Athletics Commission was very lenient on Canelo. I believe Canelo should have been banned for at least, or suspended should I say, for at least a year with a heavy fine, etc. You know, and I had my reasons for that. I'm not going to go into it now. I had my reasons for it, okay? But listen to Abel Sanchez. All we're hearing from Triple G fans now is this excuse, of course, is that, oh, he was on something. Oh, he's on clenbuterol. He's cheating and yada yada yada. Well, the one thing Triple G's team requested was that they have complete access and they're completely informed about Canelo's drug testing for this fight, okay, for the rematch, okay, and that he is rigorously tested for this fight. And you heard Abel Sanchez there, he said, hey, he had 14 VADA tests which he passed, which shows that he was a clean fighter coming into this fight. So again, no excuses there. Abel Sanchez himself is saying that. Okay.
You know, every time a fighter steps to the ropes, a coach has a game plan. A coach has things that he did in a gym to try to prepare for a fight. For some reason, Canelo in the first fight fought, I'm sure, totally the different fight than his coaches thought he was going to fight. Golovkin didn't do some of the things that we had worked on in the gym tonight, but I thought that he did enough to earn a victory, a close victory. It wasn't quite enough, but we must put Golovkin on such a pedestal. We expect him to do the same things to every fighter. I don't think there's been a fighter in history that's been able to dominate and to do the same things to every fighter that he fights.
Now, what Abel Sanchez is clearly saying there is that he had a game plan for Triple G, and basically Triple G did not execute that game plan for whatever reason. He was unable to do it, whatever it was. They had a game plan, he didn't follow that game plan. They worked on things in training, he didn't deliver those things that he was working on in training with his trainer Abel Sanchez on the night. Not only that, he's talking about about Triple G, saying that you can't expect Triple G, we have a high standard of Triple G in terms of his career to date, and we expect him to basically perform the way he's always performed, which is go in there, you know, completely dominate and overpower an opponent and knock him out. Okay, and he says that's not realistic. There's no fighter in history who's been able to do that. This is something I've talked about in the past when it comes to Triple G. He's a good fighter. He's a very good fighter, Triple G, yeah? I'm not taking anything away from the guy, but up to the fight before Kell Brook, let's be honest, yeah? Let's keep it real. Triple G fought nothing but C-class fighters. C-class fighters. And yes, that's all that was around in the division. That's all he had. He had to fight whatever he could in and around him. I understand that. But they were C-class fighters. He then fights Kell Brook, and even though he dominates and stopped Kell Brook did things in that fight that showed chinks in Triple G's armour and gave confidence to a lot of the other elite fighters in the middleweight division. The likes of Daniel Jacobs and Billy Joe Saunders took a lot of confidence from what they saw against in the Kell Brook Triple G fight. You know, this little welterweight was finding holes, finding gaps, and finding chinks in Triple G's armour. Had he been bigger, could he and more powerful himself, and if Kell Brook had been a natural middleweight, we don't know what would have happened. Okay, but my point is, up to the point before the Kell Brook fight, he fought nothing but C-class fighters. Then he fights Daniel Jacobs, an elite fighter in the division. He goes 12 rounds with Daniel Jacobs. I personally felt Daniel Jacobs won that fight 115-113. Yeah, he knocked him down in that fight, but he didn't knock him out. And in my opinion, Triple G, again, he struggled to close the ring off. He struggled to enforce himself like he has done in the past with previous opponents, because the level of opponent had jumped up in skill sets and abilities, if that makes sense. He got the decision in that fight. Personally, I felt there should have been a rematch for that, but hey, that's how it goes. Then he fights Canelo, another world-class elite level fighter. In my opinion, the fight was a draw, the first fight. But again, he's gone up against a quality, world-class, elite level fighter, yeah, and he's gone 12 rounds, and he's not knocked him out. This is someone who's able to take his power. Do you know what I mean? So all these talk that I'm hearing that Triple G's gotten old, and I'm actually going to touch on this a little bit later as well, because Abel Sanchez actually touches on this himself in this interview, right? All this talk that Triple G's gotten old, that's why he can't, you know, do what he used to do before. It's got nothing to do with it. Triple G's got nothing to do with Triple G, you know, that he's got old. It's got nothing to do with that. It's that he's gone from fighting C-class fighters to now fighting A-class fighters. And that's why we're seeing Triple G in tougher fights. That's why we're seeing Triple G be taken the distance. That's why we're seeing these things. It's got nothing to do with Triple G getting old. And, you know, a lot of people saying he's been in hard fights. What hard fights? Right up, even the Kell Brook fight, he's been dominating and beating people up and knocking them out. He hasn't had a hard fight in any of those fights. Then he fought Daniel Jacobs, that was a hard fight. Then he fought Canelo in the first fight, that was a hard fight. Then he fought Canelo this Saturday, that was a hard fight. So it's not like he's war-torn or anything like that, in my opinion. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? This guy, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to knock Triple G. I think he's a good fighter, I've always said that. But let's be real, the level of opponent has jumped up. He's fighting better opponents with better skill sets. So he's gone from fighting C-class fighters to fighting A-class fighters now. That's the way I see it.
You know, we had a lot of success against David Lemieux fighting the same way. And this is a kid that had 350 amateur fights and 40 professional fights. He knows how to box. Surprise, no. That I know he can do it, yes. That I wanted him to do something different, I was imploring him in the corner to do something different. I thought that the fans and himself would benefit from him fighting Canelo. And there's moments when he took off that I wasn't particularly happy, but we're on the outside. He sees things on the inside that he wants to do. No, they don't. They really don't talk in the corner. They listen to you. And I'm imploring him to attack a little bit more, but maybe he saw the openings from the outside. I can't tell you until we go back and he and I look at the videos, but they both fought a great fight. For it to be one round apart, for me to say something that Golovkin didn't do, let's just say that Golovkin was 60%, didn't do the things he was supposed to do, would be to take away from Canelo's effort. They both fought to a one-round fight, really. So that means that they're both, if you think Canelo fought great and you think Canelo looked great, they fought to a one-round fight. So that means both of them did great. Both of them fought great. So I'm not going to criticize what we did. We did what we thought was best. Canelo did what he thought it was best. Today he won.
So he touches on two things there. One is that how Triple G fought the fight. He doesn't probably understand why Triple G fought that way. He fought on the outside, he boxed, he moved, he didn't engage the way he's supposed to have engaged, even though he was telling him, Abel Sanchez was telling Triple G, you need to fight him, you need to get in there with him, you know, and he was refusing to do that. So without saying it, he pretty much was well, I think what Abel Sanchez would say privately to Triple G is like, why'd you run? Because that's why Triple G, that's what Abel Sanchez, considers as running when you box like that. He would have said, why'd you run? Do you know what I mean? You should have got in there toe-to-toe with him or stayed in front of him, But at the end as well, he also talks about, he goes, they fought to a one-round fight. And I think what he's trying to say is that they fought to a one-round fight. So, you can't say Triple G's done or he's over the hill or he's gotten old. Because he wouldn't have been able to fault that way to a one-round fight where it was probably a round or two between which fighter would win the fight, if that makes sense.
Look, these idols and these heroes from whatever country they're from, their fans get accustomed to seeing certain things. A Mexican fan is accustomed to seeing Julio Cesar Chavez type fighter that attacks. Canelo tonight fought Mexican style and won in Mexican style.
Okay, so you heard it right there. I don't really have to say too much there. All you guys out there saying that, talking about this Mexican style stuff. Well, you know, it's big for this Triple G team. You know, they talk about Mexican style. I'll give them my point about this whole thing. You know, there's different types of styles of boxing for Mexican fighters over the years. We've seen I used someone like Juan Marquez in one of my previous videos regarding this whole topic, and stated to you guys that, well, look at Juan Marquez. He was a defensive counterpuncher, for crying out loud. He was a defensive counterpuncher. So there's many fighters from Mexico that have come along over the years, and they've all had their own style of fighting. There is no real definitive style of Mexico, which you could say is Mexican style fighting. But everyone wants to run with this whole Mexican style thing. So does Triple G and Abel Sanchez. And Abel Sanchez has now clearly said, hey, he fought Mexican style on Saturday night. And in a way, in a subtle way, with all the stuff I've already played you, he's kind of said, my fighter didn't fight Mexican style. And I wonder why. And I need to find out why, and I will do when I watch the fight with him.
Again, for me to say that Golovkin is finished would be put him on such a high pedestal that I'm saying Canelo's no good. But if they both fight to a one-round fight, yeah, obviously, if you think Canelo did a great job today, if you think Canelo fought a great fight, if you think Canelo is a superstar, they fought to a one-round fight. So what does that make Golovkin? The same thing. One round, the last round, if one judge would have had it for, I think 2 judges had it for Canelo, 1 judge had it for Golovkin. If one of those judges would have scored it the same way for Golovkin, it's a draw. You know, so again, for me to say something that Golovkin didn't do certain things would be to take away from Canelo. If Canelo's a superstar, they're both superstars. Yeah.
And this is what I talked about earlier, which I said I'm going to talk about a little bit later on, when here we are later on in the video. And this is basically him trying to say that, no, Triple G's not done. Triple G's not old. Yeah, he fought to a one-round fight. If you thought what Canelo did tonight was great, then you have to consider what Triple G did tonight. His performance was pretty great as well, just not good enough to beat Canelo on the judges' scorecard. So all this excuse, Triple G's got old, he's losing his power, when we all know that the power is the last thing to go on a fighter. So again, he's just repeating what he said earlier on in the video, just in a slightly different way, which is Triple G's not done. He's not old, he's not over the hill, he's not losing his power. He just went up against a great fighter, and he did put a great performance himself, Triple G, but it wasn't better than Canelo's in the eyes of the judges, because they fought to a fight which could have gone either way by 1 or 2 rounds in a close contest.
Win the last round. I told Golovkin in the 11th and 12th that I needed both rounds. I thought it was a close fight, and I told him that I needed the round. And I think he took off the last round. He didn't do enough to win it convincingly.
And there you have it. You know, when we talk about the last round, a lot of people were debating the last round. Abel Sanchez himself said to his fighter, we need these last 2 rounds. And he said the last round, he didn't do enough. He took the round off, he felt, and, you know, he didn't do enough to win the round, the 12th and final round. Simple as that. So anyone who's, you know, this is all coming from the head trainer of Triple G, Abel Sanchez. He's openly admitting these things himself in this interview. So how Triple G fans are making the comments and making the statements that they are, when the head trainer for Triple G is rebuttaling all your excuses in this interview.
I scored the fight.
Yeah.
I scored the fight even. Okay, I thought that the 12th round was a pivotal round. I said to Golovkin in the corner that I thought we were behind in about the 8th or 9th. I scored the fight.
Yeah.
I scored the fight even. Okay, I thought that the 12th round was a pivotal round. I said to Golovkin in the corner that I thought we were behind in about the 8th or 9th.
Now this is a clip that I was talking about earlier on in the video from another interview Abel Sanchez did that clip that I just played you, that I played you twice now. That was done from another interview, and in this interview he says that he scored the fight even, yet in the first interview I played you, he said he felt Triple G just won the fight. He just edged the fight and he thought Triple G won the fight. But now he says in this interview, later on, I scored the fight even, sorry. That's how I scored the fight. And he also openly admits there that around the 8th or 9th round, he told Triple G, we're losing this fight.
I said to Golovkin in the corner that I thought we were behind in about the 8th or 9th. I said to Golovkin in the corner that I thought we were behind in about the 8th or 9th.
They were losing in the Errol, hands up.
I said to Golovkin in the corner that I thought we were behind in about the 8th or 9th.
They were losing in the Errol, hands up.
I said to Golovkin in the corner that I thought we were behind in about the 8th or 9th.
They were losing in the Errol, hands up.
I said to Golovkin in the corner that I thought we were behind in about the 8th or 9th.
They were losing in the Errol, hands up.
I said to Golovkin in the corner that I thought we were behind in about the 8th or 9th.
They were losing in the Errol, hands up.
Now that's what Abel Sanchez was referring to. The moment in the fight in the corner where he told Triple G, "You're losing." It sounded like to me his words there were to him was, "We're losing in there, okay?" And Triple G nods to say, "Okay." So, I mean, you know, this is all coming from Abel Sanchez's own mouth, the closest person to Triple G out of Team Triple G, the head trainer of Triple G. So I don't know where all these excuses are coming from with the Triple G fanboys. Don't get me wrong, Triple G fanboys aren't the only ones who do this sort of stuff. All fanboys do this sort of stuff. You know, no matter who their favourite fighter is. Yeah? If, like I said, if it was the roles were reversed and Triple G got the win and won 115, 113, the Canelo fans will be saying, "Oh, he got robbed. Canelo got robbed." I know that. I know how it works. But there was no robbery here. It was a close fight, which could have gone either way. And in my eyes, and in the judges' eyes as well, it went Canelo's way. I think he convincingly won the fight, personally. I'm quite confident with that. But if someone said to me, I had it 1 round to Triple G, or I saw it as a draw, you look at the Box Nation team here in the UK, David Haye was one of the pundits. All right, and David Haye said he scored it 115, 113 to Canelo. Richie Woodhall was there and he felt he gave it to Triple G, I think, by 1 round. And then Steve Bunce was also a part of that, sorry, not the Box Nation, the BT Sports team. And Steve Bunce said he scored it even, 114, 114. So if people are saying that to me, then you know what? I can deal with that. I can live with that because I can accept that because it was a close fight. I understand that. But to say it's a robbery, you know, you're just reaching now because you can't admit that it was a close fight. And unfortunately, your favourite fighter, I'm talking to the Triple G fans again, your favourite fighter lost and didn't get the decision, and you can't accept that.
But Triple G, well, not even Triple G, his trainer said they want Canelo to stand there and fight. Let's entertain the fans, stand there and fight. Then y'all ran. But y'all say he ran, but y'all ran. You can't do that if they're gonna give you the fight. You just said you complaining because you saying he running. So he changed his whole fight game, come out and come right at you. But what I'm saying is when you ask a man to come fight you toe to toe and you run from him, why would I give that to you? You told me last time you didn't beat him because he ran from you, right? Because he boxed you. So this time you said, no, we don't want you to box. Come fight for real like a real man. So he came out there and stalked you, and you ran from him, and now you, huh? Yeah, to me, I think he did. To me, I think he did because everybody was thinking, well, if Canelo stand there, Triple G say he gonna kill him. But when you tell everybody that, no, we want him to stand there, and he come out there and walk right to you and do what you ask, and he the little man coming up, how can you get mad if they give him the decision? I can't get mad at that. I wanted to be a draw because I also want to see another one. He asked to come out and fight, and Canelo did just that. How can I take it from Canelo?
And there you have it. Roy Jones Jr. asking the question that everyone wants to know the answer to. Is that how could you accuse Canelo in the first fight of running? Not my words. I believe Canelo boxed in the first fight, just as I thought Triple G boxed in this fight. But that's what was thrown out there by Abel Sanchez, Triple G, the Triple G fanboys. Okay? And Roy Jones Jr. asked the question that needs to be answered, which is, how can you accuse a guy and say, come and fight me like a man, stand in front of me, let's fight, etc., give the fans what they want. And then say, you know, in the first fight you ran from me, but then in the rematch, Triple G was the one who was apparently, according to you guys, running. He was boxing, he was moving, he was fighting on the outside. Do you know what I mean? So he was, every time when Canelo would engage him on a lot of occasions. Triple G would move back or step out of the way. You know, he wasn't doing that in the first fight. And that's what Canelo was doing kind of in the first fight. And you all labelled Canelo a runner, a coward. A lot of you were saying words like, he's a coward, he didn't stand and fight. So does that mean Triple G is now a coward because he didn't stand and fight in this fight? According to you guys, Triple G ran. Not my words, your words. I see it as boxing, box and move. You see it as running, right? You see that kind of fighting as cowardly, because that's the comments you were making. You made it in my videos. I've seen it on social media, the comments you Triple G fans were making. So does that mean now Triple G is a coward and a runner? I'd like to hear your answers on that one, because you all were saying it. Abel Sanchez, I've played you a video clip, or audio clip, sorry, of Abel Sanchez also saying that he wants to understand why Triple G was fighting on the outside. Maybe he saw something we didn't. Roy Jones Jr., they're saying it beautifully. You can't tell a man he was running, come fight. You can't tell him he was running in the first fight and then say, come and fight me like a man, like a real man in this fight. And the guy comes and fights you that way, and then you're the one who's apparently now running. You're the one who ran. You can't do that. Do you know what I mean? So answer me that question. Listen, I don't see it as running. I see it as boxing, box and move, using the ring, using movement, etc. That's part of boxing, hit and not get hit. But you guys labeled it as running. You guys labeled it as a cowardly way of fighting. So explain to me, is that what you're saying about Triple G now? Is that what you're saying, that he's a coward and he ran? Interesting points, I think. And points that I'd like to, you know, hear some replies on. To be honest, would be interested to see what you guys say. Okay, so final thoughts. Well, I want to congratulate Canelo Alvarez again on his victory from Saturday night. But also want to congratulate Triple G, because I felt, you know what, he made it a great fight too. And it was a close contest. It wasn't a robbery like all of you guys are talking out there. It was no robbery here. But I thought it was a great fight. I would like to see the rematch. Probably not straight away. I probably want to see it down the line a little bit. I feel, personally, I'll probably have to do a separate video on this. I think Canelo Alvarez needs to step up and do what it seemed to me that Triple G didn't want to do. But I don't think Canelo wants to do either, to be honest with you. And that is take on Charlo, because Jermall has been waiting around for a while now. He is the mandatory WBC mandatory challenger to that WBC middleweight title, and you know, he should be next in line. You know, the WBC, you know, Mauricio Suleiman said it himself that the winner of Triple G versus Canelo will have to fight Charlo. He stepped aside on 2 occasions now. He stepped aside for the initial rematch date, which was May 5th, and then he stepped aside again to allow them to have this fight in September. So hopefully Charlo gets his shot. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. I know the WBA considered Lemieux versus Spike O'Sullivan as a final eliminator for the mandatory position for the WBA middleweight title. We'll have to wait and see how the politics play out on that one, to be honest with you. But look, great fight on Saturday night. Would love to see a third fight. Probably not straight away, a little bit down the line. But again, great fight. And you know what, guys? Stop with all excuses, really. You know, this fanboyism that we're seeing so much in boxing now, it's getting worse and worse, yeah? It's growing in a bad way, in my opinion, in my personal opinion. All this fanboyism needs to stop. You could be a fan of a fighter. You can have a favourite fighter. I'm not saying that. I don't have favourite fighters. I'm pretty much a neutral boxing fan. But you can have favourite fighters. I'm not saying that. But at least be honest. You know, you're killing the sport when you have a great fight, a close fight like we did this Saturday night between Triple G and Canelo, and you're not celebrating it. Instead, you're pulling it down. You know, people out there talk, you know, and say, oh, you know, the judges are killing the sport, the promoters are killing the sport, the fighters won't fight each other, that's killing the sport. You know, all these other, you know what, in my opinion, I think the #1 problem in boxing is fanboyism. It's a disease that's just growing in the sport. Sorry, I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. And that's the biggest problem in boxing. Ignorant boxing fans as well, who don't understand the sport. and don't understand how to do the one thing that's probably the most important thing as a boxing fan. The one thing you should know above anything else. Who cares about your knowledge of the history of sport in terms of historic fighters and all that sort of style, who fought who in what year and blah blah blah, even knowing the business end of it all or the politics of it all. The most important thing for you as a fight fan, is the most important thing for you guys is how to score a round of boxing. If you don't know anything but you know that one thing, which is how to score a round of boxing, then you don't really need to know anything else, in all honesty. Okay? And I think, you know what, people need to stop being lazy, stop being ignorant, and actually go away and stop listening to other people and actually go out there and educate yourself. Stop relying on promoters to feed you information and corrupt your way of thinking. That's the way I look at it anyway. And stop being so bitter. That's another thing. So bitter, and like, it's like you're in love with your favourite fighters, like literally in love, like to the point, like, you know, like a man and a woman, that kind of love. It's weird. I don't understand it. Seriously, I don't understand it. I don't understand like your connection with your favourite fighters sometimes. I don't get it at all. You don't know these fighters. They're not your friends. They're not your family members. They don't even know who you are. Do you know what I mean? That's why I don't get it. They don't even know who you are. If you lost your job tomorrow, do you think Triple G is going to pay your bills? Do you think Triple G is going to cover your rent for you? Like, come on, man. That's why I say take the emotion out of it and just be a fight fan and enjoy the fight. Try and be neutral with it as well and honest. Like, but anyway, look, listen, I've said this all before and people don't take it, don't take any notice. It still goes on the way it goes on. But that's just my opinion, man. I think it's really weird how you guys are emotionally attached to your favourite fighters. It's like, that crazy love you have, when you're in a relationship. It's weird, man. I think it's weird. I think it's funny. Alright, look, that's all I got for you guys on this one. That was my take on Triple G versus Canelo from this Saturday night. Let me know what you think. It'll be interesting to know what you think. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hateful comments, but hey, that's how it goes when you have a boxing channel. I'm used to it now. Anyway, guys, as always, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, this is Cypherbox reminding you to keep it real.